You're listening to Shooting the Breeze with Byron A. Lloyd. Dig it.
I'm really rich.
All right. It's your man, Byron A. Lloyd. This is Shooting the Breeze with your man, Byron A. Lloyd. As I continue with my presidential candidate series, nothing but the truth, nothing but the facts. We're going to cut through the BS and the spin. And tonight, after 3 episodes of The Truth About Trump, we're going to focus the spotlight on Hillary. But all you Hillary haters out there, I just want to let you know I got a small disclaimer that I want to start by saying that, look, I'm not going to list or discuss any alleged scandals, lies, etc. that she's not directly involved in. Meaning anything that Bill Clinton did or been accused of doing, it won't be mentioned because that's her husband and that's not Hillary. So unless Hillary's directly involved, I'm not going to mention it. And we're going to start out with Whitewater. We're going to get into the Benghazi deal. We're going to cover all the major scandals. And we're going to get to the truth of it. And that's just how it's going to go down. And like I said, y'all might be a little bit surprised because you're going to be disappointed because, like I said, there's been 8 now investigations about Hillary, and we're going to start by the Washington. We're going to start with the Washington Post and what the Washington Post says about Whitewater. We're going to go through the whole timeline. As you know, back in the late 70s, Bill Clinton and Susan McDougal and her husband were involved in a little deal where their buddy owned the bank. They borrowed some money to build some property up in Ozark Mountains, some vacation homes. The bank goes belly up. The guy who was running the bank did some shady things. He gets jammed up. He goes to the pen for a few years, but we're going to cover it. And you know what I mean? I'm not going to let bias enter it. Everybody knows my feelings. Everybody knows, full disclosure, I am a registered Democrat. But just like in Trump, I give no opinion. I give the straight facts, and I give the straight quotes out of the man's mouth. And it's going to be the same way with Hillary. The good, the bad, and the ugly. We're going to tell it. And that's just the way, I'm trying to be fair because, like I say, the biggest part of the electorate this year is a lot of misinformation because of social media. A lot of people, instead of doing their homework, get their news from memes or some quasi-news sites that are definitely biased and are not legit news sites or some bogus post some dude puts on Facebook. So we're going to get right down to it. And so, as you know, the biggest scandal starting out was Whitewater. So we're going to go through the whole timeline here, and I'm going to give you the highlights. And we're going to see, because like I said, Whitewater was a big deal. Kenneth Starr, who actually went to the alma mater my mom went to, Hardy University here in Searcy, led the charge and was the prosecutor, and he tried to keep this case open for decades. And you know what I mean? And they say it was James Carville, who was the main political advisor and a campaign manager for Bill Clinton, said it was a hatchet job. But that's what he said, quote unquote. I'm going to let you make your own decisions. So look, the drama now known as Whitewater is a definitive starting point. It was a land purchase in 1978. It was complicated, and it was allegation after allegation, but we're going to cut through the BS and get straight to the truth. But before I get going, I got to give a special shout out, and this is the only time I plan on you. Usually I give an opinion on my show. I tend to use profane language. I'm trying to keep, clean it up for the kiddies, so I try to cuss one time, and it's right now because I got to give a special shout out to that Bill Payne son of a bitch, who's my favorite person on the planet. And I also got to say I'm sponsored by King's Snack Sales. So if you need a snack, call my man Stephen King at 270-1498 and he will lead the charge. He's got snacks and goodies by the case. So if you got the munchies or you just got a sugar fetish, call my man Stephen King at King Snack Sales and he will hook you up. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty. And at the end we'll talk about Bernie and his Bernie or busters, because it don't look like Bernie's going to make it because, mathematically, unfortunately, my man Bernie's done. You know what I mean? But he led a hell of a campaign. He started out with only 3 points, and he got close. He got a whole lot closer than a lot of people thought he would. And he tapped into the youth vote, and the youth have pretty much made the statement that they're voting that they want change. They're tired of establishment politics and business as usual. So now let's get down to the nitty gritty and let's get on to Whitewater. First big scandal, Whitewater, right? So in 1978, Arkansas Attorney General at the time was Bill Clinton, and Hillary, they joined with James B. and Susan McDougal to borrow $203,000 to buy 220 acres of land in the Ozark Mountains. They soon formed the Whitewater Development Corporation, intending to build vacation homes. Then Clinton gets elected as governor, right? So, but in 1980, Clinton loses his re-election bid and enters his private legal practice. James McDougal, who served briefly as Governor Clinton's economic development director, quits his government job to buy a small bank in Kingston, Arkansas. He loans $30,000 to Hillary to build a model house on the Whitewater lot. Then McDougal buys a small savings and loan and names it Madison Guarantee. Now, that's what you got to make special note of is Madison Guarantee. All these shenanigans supposedly take place in Madison Guarantee, and most of the shenanigans had to do with people contributing to Bill Clinton's campaign, and possibly money laundering and all this other stuff they alleged at the time. So in 84, that was in 82 when McDougal bought the bank, named it Madison Guarantee. In 84, federal regulators began to question the financial stability and lending practices of Madison Guarantee, criticizing Madison's speculative land deals, insider lending, and hefty commissions paid to the McDougals and others. Bill Clinton gets reelected. Then in 85, James McDougal holds a fundraising event at Madison Guarantee to help pay off a $50,000 Clinton campaign debt. Investigators later determined some of the money was improperly withdrawn from depositors' funds. So basically, they had a little party to pay off $50,000 that Bill Clinton's campaign was in the hole for, and some of the money was taken out of depositor accounts. You know, Joe Schmo, mom and pop, their savings accounts. So, but notice this is all James McDougal at this time. McDougal hires the Rose Law Firm. Hillary Clinton's a partner there, and she does some work for the failing bank. Hillary Clinton and another Rose lawyers seek state regulatory approval for recapitalization plan for Madison. So, of course, her and a lawyer, they go to the state. They come with a business plan to try to get the money and get the books right at the bank, try to get it lined out and back on the straight and narrow. But then in 86, McDougal borrows $300,000 from a company owned by David Hill, who, if anybody knows anything about state politics, he was a prominent judge in Little Rock. Hill's company receives federal funds from the Small Business Administration to lend disadvantaged business owners, but investigation 10 years later alleges that he lent up to $3 million to political figures instead. Wow. Citing improper practices, federal regulators removed McDougal as Madison Guarantee's president, but he retains ownership. Then in 88, it starts to heat up. Witnesses from the Rose Law Firm say Hillary Clinton requested destruction of Madison land contract files. Hillary Clinton writes James McDougal to ask for power of attorney. You got to excuse my phone. I got a little message. We'll take that message later. Hillary Clinton writes James McDougal asking for power of attorney to sell off remaining Whitewater lots and clear up bank obligations to try to line the bank out and make it solvent. Madison Guarantee finally collapses in 89 after a series of bad loans and change in government accounting procedures. The federal government shuts it down. And now this is crazy. McDougal was crooked as a snake, obviously, because this little bank, which was having money problems, somehow needed $60 million to get bailed out. Then James McDougal, being shady as a 380, gets indicted on federal fraud charges related to the management of Madison Real Estate subsidiary. In 1990, McDougal gets acquitted. In 92, the Clinton presidential campaign gathers information on Whitewater and Madison Guarantee. A report commissioned by the campaign claims that Clinton lost $68,000 on Whitewater. An estimate later adjusted down to somewhat over $40,000. The Federal Resolution Trust Corporation, investigating causes of Madison's failure, sends a referral to the Justice Department that names the Clintons as, quote-unquote potential beneficiaries of illegal activities of Madison. So they're implying that they got their beaks wet on some of that shady money that was going around. Like I said, this was alleged, never proven. White House fires 7 employees in the travel office in May 93, possibly to make room for, they say, Clinton friends. That's why he fired them. An FBI investigation office ensues, allegedly opened up under pressure from the White House so they can justify the firings. So they're basically saying the White House is the one that pressured the FBI to investigate the firings to clear them of any wrongdoing. 93, this is when a conspiracy theory hits, because one of Clinton's best friends, and at the time I believe he was the Attorney General, but it was one of his best friends, lifelong best friends, Vince Foster, is found dead in a Washington area park. Police rule the death a suicide. Federal investigators are not allowed to access Foster's office immediately after the discovery. But White House aides enter Foster's office shortly after his death, giving rise to the conspiracy. That's where the conspiracy starts. There's plenty of these in the Clintons. You know what I mean? The right likes to sling it at the Clintons. But anyway, the aides they implied that the aides, when they entered Foster's office after his death, removed files from his office. Then in September of 93, the first of 3 meetings in which the Treasury Department officials tip off Clinton aides that the progress of an RTC investigation. The RTC criminal of referrals rejected by Paula Casey, U.S. Attorney in Little Rock, a former law student of Bill Clinton, which they said she did, of course, because she was a law student of Bill Clinton's, and she showed him favoritism, which is very possible. Once again, Hillary had nothing to do with it. A lot of this, like I say, a lot of this older stuff, if you'll notice, when the facts come out, there's a lot of, Bill was good at bending rules, but was smart enough not to break very many laws. And most of this stuff is centered around Bill and not Hillary, but they try to tie it to Hillary, which is, I can't give my opinion, so I'm going to give straight facts. I'll wait till the opinion show, like I said, because tomorrow night, Chase Brady's going to come on live. He's going to debate from the right. I'm coming from the left, of course. Usually sparks fly when me and him get to debating, and I'm sure he'll make a case for this whole. I'm sure he'll bring up Whitewater. I can almost guarantee it. And we'll hash it out then. But anyway, like I said, 93, the White House agrees to turn over Whitewater documents to the Justice Department, which had been preparing to subpoena them. These documents include files found in Foster's office. January 94, Janet Reno names New York lawyer and former U.S. Attorney Robert B. Fish Jr. as special counsel to investigate the Clintons' involvement in Whitewater. Fisk announces he will also explore a potential link between Foster's suicide and his intimate knowledge of developing Whitewater scandal. And come to find out, the deal was on this is that these files that were allegedly removed, and the reason Vince Foster allegedly said to commit suicide is because he was cooking the books, and they later find these files, or these corporate tax files later on, that got all his buddies in trouble. We'll get to that in just a second. February 94, Republican Attorney Jay Stevens is appointed to the head of the Resolution Trust Corp's investigation of the failure of Madison Guarantee. 94. This is the guy who was cooking the books here. Webster Hubbell abruptly resigns as Associate Attorney General after allegations are raised about his conduct at the Rose Law Firm. 2 of Clinton's top political advisors called business friends and lined up more than $500,000 for Hubbell, including $100,000 from the Lippo Group. Hubbell is later convicted of fraud. Like I said, he was cooking the books. He serves 18 months in jail. Summer of 94, the House and Senate Bank Committee begins hearing on Whitewater. 29 Clinton administration officials are subpoenaed or testify at congressional hearings. Let me repeat this, all are cleared of any wrongdoing. Now, you got to understand this Whitewater scandal goes on for years, almost a decade. They kept it going forever. They said Kenneth Starr himself says at one time that this was a never-ending investigation. But we're going to keep going. The Whitewater scandal is going to be long, so it might put you to sleep. So if you got insomnia, this might be your sleeping pill for the night. August 5th, 94, U.S. Court of Appeals panel refuses to reappoint Fisk as special counsel citing a possible conflict of interest because he was appointed by Clinton's Attorney General, Janet Reno. Kenneth W. Starr, the man I was talking about, Arkansas native, graduate of Harding University. In fact, I think he went to Harding the same time my mother did. Former federal appeals court judge and U.S. solicitor who worked in Reagan and Bush administration, succeeds Fisk as independent counsel to investigate Whitewater and the Madison Guarantee matters. He turns around and reissues subpoenas for the same documents, such as the Rose billing records of one Hillary Rodham Clinton. By the way, I forgot to mention our source. All these facts I'm getting, and I'm getting them from liberalconspiracy.com or something crazy like this. This is directly from the Washington Post. Later, I'll get my facts from a very prestigious, very well-known magazine called The Atlantic about Benghazi, because I know the Hillary haters that are chomping at the bit to hear about Benghazi. But anyway, and we'll get to Benghazi too. Don't worry, I'm going to cover all of it. I'm going to be fair. Like I say, I'm going to leave. It's hard to bite my tongue and keep my opinion out of it, but I will give you plenty of opinion tomorrow night, I promise you. So we're still going. January 3rd, 1995, the Democratic majority on the Senate Banking Committee releases a report finding no laws were broken in the Whitewater matter. Now let me repeat that. The Democratic majority on the Senate Banking Committee releases a report finding no laws were broken. So on the 22nd of 1995, April, Starr interviews both Clintons privately. July 18, 1995, the Senate Special Whitewater Committee, chaired by Republican Alphonse D'Amato, begins hearings on Whitewater and on Vince Foster's suicide. D'Amato is also chairman of Republican Bob Dole's presidential campaigns. The hearing lasts 11 months. And at the time, I remember a lot of Democrats said this was a partisan hit mission, because the guy who was head of the committee to investigate was also head of Bob Dole's presidential campaign, who was running against Bill Clinton at the time when Bill Clinton. So they said it was partisan, which it looked that way. It's not my opinion, it's the opinion of a lot of pundits that all these scandals against Hillary seem to be partisan driven. I'll read the facts and let you make up your own mind, but the facts seem to lean that way too. So we're going to go on to August 10th. Like I said, this thing goes on for a minute. The House Banking Committee, chaired by Republican Jim Leach of Iowa, finishes its examination. Also, he finds no illegalities. So then you have a Republican come after the Democrats say no laws are broken. The Republican chair of the House Banking Committee says there was no laws broken. August 17, 1995, a grand jury charges James and Susan McDougal and our own Arkansas Jim Guy Tucker, who used to be at one time was the lieutenant governor of Arkansas under Bill Clinton. Anyway, like I said, the grand jury charges James and Susan McDougal, close friends of the Clintons, Arkansas Governor Jim Guy Tucker, with bank fraud relating to questionable loans. The Senate Whitewater Committee on October 26, 1995 issues 49 more subpoenas to federal agencies and others involved in the affair. Then December 12th of the same year, White House Associate Counsel William H. Kennedy III, who worked at the Rose Law Firm, refuses to release subpoenaed notes of a 1993 meeting between administration officials and the president and Bill Clinton's lawyers about Whitewater. Just a mere 8 days later, on December 20th, the Senate votes along party lines to enforce the subpoena. The next day, the White House drops its claim to attorney-client privileges and releases the notes. They prove vague and do not reveal any illegality, but contain the phrase, quote, vacuum Rose Law Files, WWDC, docs, subpoena, unquote. Okay, January 4th. Ooh, sweet, the day before my birthday. January 4th, 1996, Hillary Clinton's billing records from Rose Law Firm are found on a table in the White House resident book room after 2 years. Clinton aide Carolyn Huber says she found the bills in August of 95, but didn't realize their significance until coming across them again. The documents include copies of bills for Clinton's legal work showing she performed 60 hours of legal work for the Madison Guarantee and Loan in 1985 and also again in 1996. Okay, so 4 days later on Elvis's birthday, January 8th, In a commentary from the New York Times titled Blizzard of Lies, New York Times columnist William Safire describes Hillary Clinton as a congenital liar, quote unquote. White House Press Secretary Michael McCurry said if Clinton was not president, he would, quote, have delivered a more forceful response to that column on the bridge of Mr. Safire's nose, unquote. Talking about Bill knocking folks out for lying on his wife. So let's see. January 15, just a few days later, Republicans suggest billing documents may have been withheld from the investigation to disguise how much work Hillary Clinton had done for Madison Guarantee. The White House issues a denial. 7 days later, on the 22nd, 1996, Kenneth Starr subpoenas Hillary Clinton in a criminal probe to determine if records were intentionally withheld. This is the first time that a first lady was ever subpoenaed. Oh, my bad. Yes, no, that's it. No first lady in history until Hillary Clinton has ever been subpoenaed. Okay, so March 4th, 96, the Whitewater trial of Arkansas Jim Guy Tucker and the McDougal start in Little Rock. The 22nd of 1996, David Hale, the former owner of a government-funded lending company, and the Little Rock judge I was telling you about, who loaned the $300K out, pleaded guilty to 2 felonies, testifies at Whitewater trial that in early 1985, then Governor Bill Clinton pressured him to make a fraudulent $300,000 loan to Susan McDougal and asked that his name be kept out of the transaction. Okay, on April 28th, tell you, man, this thing goes on for a minute. They drag it out. Clinton testifies, but we're going to go down it. I told you I'm going to give you the facts line by line. Clinton testifies on videotape as a defense witness for over 4 hours. He denies that he pressured David Hale to loan the money to Susan McDougal. The tape is played to the Whitewater trial jury on May 9th. May 26th, the McDougals and Jim Guy Tucker are convicted of nearly all the charges, fraud, conspiracy charges that Kenneth Starr lodged against them 10 months earlier. May 28th, 96, the White House acknowledges that during 4 months in 1993, it wrongly collected FBI background reports on hundreds, including prominent Republicans. Director of Personnel Security Craig Livingstone later takes responsibility. Okay, on June 17, 96, the second Whitewater trial begins. Arkansas bankers, you got to love this dude's name, Herbie with the Y, Herbie Branscombe Jr. and Robert Hill are accused of illegally using bank funds to reimburse themselves for political contributions, including contributions to Clinton's gubernatorial and presidential campaigns. June 18, 1996, the Senate Whitewater Committee finishes its investigation. Republicans and Democrats remain divided in their respective reports on whether the Clintons committed any ethical breaches. July 7, 1996, President Clinton finally testifies on tape for the second Whitewater trial. 8 days later, Jim Guy Tucker resigns as governor of Arkansas. July 16th and 17th of 1996, Deputy White House Counsel Bruce Lindsay, named the unindicted co-conspirator in the Branscombe Hill trial, testifies about his role as the treasurer of Clinton's gubernatorial re-election effort. He says he never sought to conceal from regulator 2 large cash withdrawals he ordered. You see, there's a bunch of money going around. Sounds like Bill had a bunch of wealthy friends, huh? July 18, 1996, President Clinton videotaped testimony from July 7th and is aired at the trial. In it, Clinton denies naming 2 defendants, 2 unsalaried state posts, in exchange for contribution to his gubernatorial campaign. Basically, they were saying that a couple of cats made some donations and he was giving out favors like a lot of politicians are accused of, giving out easy, cushy state jobs to people who make contributions. Like I said, Bill denied it. August 1st, 96, in a major setback for Starr's investigation, Branscombe and Hill are cleared of 4 counts of bank fraud by a federal jury, which deadlocks with 7 other charges. In August, Jim Guy Tucker gets a 4-year suspended sentence after his doctor testifies he would likely die of liver disease if in prison. Tucker is placed under home detention and fined $319,000, which I will say I'd like to know who his lawyer is, because I didn't know that Jim Guy Tucker ever had any kind of liver problems. And in fact, he's still alive. I'll have to check that out for episode 2 on what's the deal with him. We'll see if Jim Guy's still kicking. Okay, Susan McDougal, we know she went to jail, but she considered at one time they almost flipped her and she considered cooperating with prosecutors, but she said she didn't trust them, so she goes to jail for contempt of court rather than testify in front of a grand jury. She also was sentenced to 2 years in prison for her role in obtaining that illegal loan from Whitewater Venture. An FDIC inspector on September 23rd, FDIC Inspector General reports conclude Hillary drafted a real estate document that Madison guarantees savings and loan used to, quote, deceive, unquote, federal regulators in 1986. September 30th of 1986, the General Accounting Office, the GAO, reports that independent counsels investigating President Clinton and his administration have spent more than $25 million. Star alone spent more than $17. So they spent $25 million just to convict 4 or 5 folks associated to Bill Clinton. Wow. That's a lot of money. Then February 17th, Kenneth Starr unexpectedly announced he will leave his post as independent counsel in August to become dean of the Pepperdine University Law School in California. After much criticism, Starr reverses his decision 4 days later and resolves to keep his post until after the investigation is completed. And a quick side note, if you've heard that name in the news here recently, Kenneth Starr, that's because he just resigned. He just resigned as the president of Baylor University because football players who have been convicted of being of doing something heinous as doping. They were drugging and raping and forcibly raping young girls at Baylor University. And Kenneth Starr was aware of it. He received emails from some of the rape victims. And he and the administration totally ignored it because they were star football players. And they ignored it till the football players were finally caught and convicted, thank God. So he's not the most ethical guy. It's funny how, if you remember back then, he claimed how unethical the Clintons were and how ethical he was. Turns out that when it comes to football and football players, he wasn't too ethical after all. And that's not opinion, that's a fact, because he allowed it to go on. Like I said, so he keeps going on. Then on a radio talk show in 97, Hillary denies that hush money was arranged for her former law partner, Webster Hubble. She says Whitewater reminds her, quote, of some people's obsession with UFOs and the Hale-Bopp comet some days, unquote. Then McDougal, Susan's husband, gets 3 years in prison for his conviction on 18 fraud and conspiracy charges. Starr requested a reduced sentence for McDougal for assisting the prosecution. And I believe right before he went to jail or during, his wife divorced him. 97, the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals overruling a lower court says the White House must turn over subpoena notes to Starr. The notes which they claimed were attorney-client privileges were taken by the White House lawyers when investigators questioned the First Lady. The White House announces that the appeal to the decision on the subpoena notes. The Supreme Court refused to hear the appeal. The White House turns over the notes. Then the Washington Post, which I'm quoting from right now, starts saying Bill releases information about Bill Clinton and his affairs. Once again, Susan McDougal gets detained for contempt of court. She's kept in her cell 23 hours a day. The ACLU gets her out. Basically, at the end of it, the Clintons are cleared of everything. I could keep going on, but my first 30-minute segment's almost up. That's how long this investigation went on. So basically, Starr and deputies questioned Hillary Clinton about Whitewater for nearly 5 hours. A new set of tax evasion charges brought against Webster Hubble. Susan McDougal gets cleared. And at the very end of the impeachment hearings, Starr clears Clinton in relation to the firing of White House travel workers and a proper collection of FBI files. He also says the office drafted impeachment referrals stemming from Whitewater 97, but decided not to send it because there had insufficient evidence to prove that the Clintons done anything wrong, specifically Hillary Clinton. So once again, this Whitewater, as you just said, after all those years and all the millions spent, Hillary Clinton was cleared of all charges. I'm down to my last 25, and I know that was a boring 30, but man, the next one won't be so bad. If the next one's going to be Benghazi, that'll be here in just a minute, and you're going to love that one. So until this next segment coming up here in just a segment, I'm going to take a break. This is your man, Byron A. Lloyd. This is Shooting the Breeze with your man, Byron A. Lloyd. and I'll see you in just a minute.